Welcome back to Angry Badger Minis. Just wanted to do this because obviously YouTube is having some issues or whatever, and I figure the live stream part's going to work out a little better. But what I wanted to show you guys as far as what I'm working on here is how the I've gotten, I have all 50 of the, these Marines put together. My camera's a little off today, but I was working on, the sergeants and whatnot. I really am impressed with these models. They're great. The detail's great. Definitely worth the money that I paid for them. It's going to be fun painting them, even though there'll be a lot of little trinkets and whatnot on there, but that's okay. But the weapon options, the amount of weapon options are amazing. And what I thought would be a good thing here, especially for those of you new maybe to magnetizing, is how I'm going to go about getting the most out of my money for the heavy bolter and heavy flamer, for instance, and specialist weapons and whatnot, versus short of having to create a model and then that has a separate gun, okay, which probably would be easier, but then you're going to have to paint the whole model, and you may have a model that doesn't have all of the little details and stuff that these do. So what I was working with here, and I apologize, I put them away. Let me grab them real quick. I've got, these are and I'm not sponsored by these folks. This is just stuff I've had for years. I don't even remember where. I think I might have bought these on Amazon maybe, or eBay or something. I'm not exactly sure. But these are rare earth magnets. Came in a package of 200. What I don't see on here is exactly what's oh wait, here it is. The diameter, this one is 1.6 with a length of 0.8 millimeters. So 1.6 millimeter diameter with 0.8 millimeter length. And it's by Magcraft. I've got all kinds of magnets, but what I'm doing here is, again, I want to get the most out of this. So what you won't see, or maybe you can see, because this is a lot of experimentation, to be honest with you, but you see how you've got this little square inside of this heavy bolter pack? That's a piece of sprue, okay, to fill that gap. And the reason being is because I've got to make that's a pretty deep hole. I've got the same thing going on here in the heavy flamer backpack. As a matter of fact, now you can see the hole without anything in it, and then I go ahead and I cut that piece of sprue and I put that in there, and that fills the gap, okay. I'll turn it around how I would like it to be, and it's kind of a little bit of a you got to fit it in there kind of deal. And it doesn't have to be in, like square or anything like that, unless you've got super small magnets that might potentially find their way inside the crack. I don't have that problem. These magnets are not, they're not that small, or that thin rather, and so I'm not really worried about that. This one was I've already glued this one in, and the backpack, the way it works is they give you kind of a half backpack, if you will, and then these hook on to it like so, and then I want to be able to magnetize that. Well, this is actually flat. Normally this hole you see right here, I drilled that with my drill here. You got to be careful. I almost breached the other side. Not that would necessarily be a problem for the you could always fill that up with glue, or put a piece of paper over it and then glue it, and then you've got basically that gap filled again, or where something can't come out the other side. But the goal here is, and I have these little magnets, if you will, and I'm having trouble picking it up at the moment. Goodness. Is to my plan here anyway is to take these first. Let me grab my man, what did I do with it? Oh goodness, sorry, I was doing a lot of cutting this morning. Here we go, it's right in front of me. That's usually how that works. So anyway, I'm going to take these magnets that you just saw me pick up with this, and I'm gonna put them in the hole. The difference, or what I typically would do though is, and then of course I'm not going to use the magnet to move it around because it's just going to keep sticking to it. You want to position it in such the best way possible that you can, where it's level and up and down, well, at least level. You may not be able to necessarily get it centered right and left in the hole, but that's okay because it's not that critical. What's critical is getting the top, if you will, flush with how it's going to be here. And you want to glue one side first, in my experience. Now obviously I've got, if I put this glue on here, it's going to cover the entirety of that. So what I plan on doing is actually putting a little bit of glue in the hole first. Okay, and since I'm going to be basically keeping the keeping the weapons together with this specific model, then all I've got to do is worry about one particular side of the magnet. You know what I mean? It's not that big a deal for me. So then I'm just gonna sit it down in there, put my finger over top of it, kind of roll my finger off in case I get some glue on my fingers, and then position it with this pencil here. That yes, the glue could potentially stick to it, but what I've done is I've essentially created a gel in a way through the stuff on my fingers, if you will, skin, whatever you want to call it. I know that probably sounds gross, but regardless, I've got it in there, or I've got both of them in there, and they will be where they need to be. So when I take a look at this, it's sticking out just slightly. You probably can't see that on camera, and I apologize for that, but trust me, it works. It's pretty much the method I use for just about everything. And I'm just going to scrape off a little of this outside glue. The reason being is once this is done, I plan on taking the top portion here off, and then putting a layer of glue over top of the bottom one. Okay, the only reason that I'm doing, leaving them both on there at the moment right now is because I needed to be able to work the one on the bottom. So that's what we got going on there. So hold on one second. So you're going to want to let this sit a little bit, but again, you want to make sure that it is in fact flat. What you can also do to help out with that is take your other piece, assuming that it's flat as well, which this one is, and press that down slightly just to get it to form fit the way it needs to. Because the ultimate goal here is to take, once we feel like this is glued enough, we're going to put some glue on this side, and then we're just going to marry it together, but it's going to be very little glue. The reason being is if we put too much, then these will not, you're going to end up gluing these together, and then you just basically glued your magnets on the inside of it. So again, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here after I take this magnet off, and then this magnet I will put on here. So I'll have to pay attention to the actual polarity, otherwise they'll oppose one another, right? But it's really not that difficult. So in the meantime, while that's drying a little bit, I'm checking on this one to see if this is dried. Now this is a little bit deeper of a recess, and I kind of figured that was going to happen. So what I'm gonna need to do here is I have two choices. I can either use a different size magnet, or I can go ahead and continue to fill this in, either with glue or something else. My option, and the cheapest option, would be to take a piece of cardboard from the box or whatever, okay, and that's what I'm going to use to fill that gap. I mean, if you had cardstock or anything else, you could probably do that as well. So, but I want to show you, I mean, that's what this video is about, or this live stream is about. So I want to show you what you can do with minimal stuff. And I've cut this sort of in half, mainly because if the one isn't big enough, then I'll have the second one already prepared. And again, my goal is to fill this hole, but again, I want to do it in the cheapest manner possible. And it looks like one's gonna, oops, it looks like one's gonna do the trick. Again, it's a little bit of a trial and error thing. Of course, you know, I mean that for your first one. You know, once you get, you know, the rest of it down, you know, down pat, if you will, I mean, you'll know exactly how you want to handle it for the rest of them. So that looks about flush. We're gonna go ahead and glue that down, just in case it, you know, decides to settle or anything like that. Of course, now it wants to play games with me. And we do want to glue it on, you know, not just in there, but glue over it, so that way your cardboard or cardstock or whatever actually hardens and in essence becomes plastic. It's not quite flat, but we're getting there. Now, if you're gonna be super, you know, particular about whatever gaps there are between, say, the backpack of the weapon and the actual backpack, you may be slightly disappointed. Okay, I'm just saying. It just depends. And a lot of the time, it really doesn't matter. You're not even looking at that. And then again, in my opinion, the option and ability, you know, to throw these things on and switch your weapons around and things like that. I wish this was a thing when I first got into the hobby, and unfortunately it wasn't. But you know, it is now, and so I try to make whatever effort I can. All the Land Raiders that I did, you know, that I've done over the last couple of weeks, they all are, the weapons are magnetized. I mean, the side sponson panels, I'll put it that way. So that way I can take them off, put them on, and then do it. And if I run into a problem where I'm having some, you know, the weapons are too loose or something like that, I mean, they're pretty tight on there. It's an easy fix. Just like this, I'll drill a small hole, put a magnet in there, drill a hole the other side, or maybe I can get away with it being flush, and put the magnet in there, and then we'll be good to go. So what I'm also going to do with these sergeants, because they have multiple weapon options, they've got, you know, hand flamer like this one right here, this hand flamer here. They've got a hand melta pistol, bolt pistol, plasma pistol, blah blah blah. I'm not going to do it for everybody else, but I am going to put the same magnet in here in his wrist. That's why he doesn't have a hand. Put the same magnet in there, and then do that for each weapons. And it's not that big a deal. It's 5 sergeants, and then it's going to be 5 specialist Marines, you know, for a flamer, plasma rifle, whatever else is out there. I thought I heard somebody say that grav guns were no longer a thing, and I never actually got a chance to use them. I don't even know what they do, but you know, we'll see. So I think we're looking pretty good here. You got to understand, gluing these magnets is it's a process, and depending on how strong the hold is and how much glue is on whatever, it may present a problem. Now, see that? So we've got our single. Oh, let me get it over here near the black. We've got our single magnet on there. You can see it on the tip of my razor blade, and then on here we've got the magnet that's inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a thin layer of glue and put that over top, okay? Because I want it to seep down in there and get really all in and around that magnet. And then I'm going to wipe my finger across like so. Believe it or not, that little bit of glue over the top of it is not going to stop your magnets from sticking. It's not going to do it. And if you are worried about it, well, I mean, go back and get yourself, you know, a little bit of sandpaper, once it's dry, and just scrape it over the top. But at least we've got the the glue down in there. So the first thing is, the next step rather, is we want to look at the fit. Okay, remember, we've got I made a small gap. This is recessed just slightly to take up about half, if not more, maybe even 3/4 of this tiny little magnet. All right, so that I could get as close to this as possible. But my plan is, I'm going to put just a slight, just a little bit, because I mean, you kind of don't need to do this, but and as I'm thinking about it, I may not, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, worst case, we tear it off and fill the hole up. You know, no big deal. No, I'm not going to do that. The reason I'm not going to do it is it's so much easier for me that once this is dry, to put this magnet back on. Let go here. And then what I can end up doing, once this magnet is flush here, is I can turn around and then just put a tad bit of glue here, anywhere, it won't matter. Okay, and I mean a tad, don't go crazy, because remember, we don't want to glue these two together. So I'm putting a little bit on there. I actually put a little too much. As you can see, my fingers are always super glue. I'm just gonna put a little bit on there, just a little bit. And it should generally be in the spot it needs to be in. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, you may have a slight issue, when you do this. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm going to let it, lay on there onto the magnet. Maybe apply a little bit of pressure, but we don't want to get crazy, because again, we're not trying to glue the backpack. Now I can already feel the wiggle motion, and that's good. It's a little bit wobbly, but that means that I've got the gap that I need, that I'm not gluing the back of this the back of this weapon, gosh, the ammunition backing to the rest of the backpack. Okay, so that's actually a good thing. I'm gonna go ahead and set that down. Try to keep some pressure on as I set it down, and let it do its thing. It really just sits right down in there, so it's not that big a deal. Actually, I'm gonna pick this up. I want to look at something real quick. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So because I took too long, I got a little bit of the glue dried. If that happens, get in there, file that glue down, and then try again. Remember, we're not putting a lot on, so I think we're looking pretty good there. And I mean, again, it's trial and error. I've never put one of these together. And if this is the case, how it's going to be for all of the other Space Marines, that I own. I've got Space Marines that are some of the newer box sets, and Space Marines that are some of the older box sets. So if this is the case, now I've got a method for everything that I need. Now, I guess you could take the time and really work it out so that and I've done this, so that every weapon will work with any Marines. You don't have to worry about matching particular ones up, and I may do that. I mean, this is the first one, but it won't be hard to do because you already have the set. You just don't glue this on the back, and then when you pull this one off, you put the next one on. You see what I mean? So you're able to actually, you put the next magnet on, and then you're able to keep doing that, and it will keep the polarities the same. I did that for my Space Hulk Death Watch Terminators, so that all of the weapons are interchangeable for whoever's playing whichever Terminator, and you know, it works out good. So, but I thought that this would be a really good one to put out there for you guys if you're interested in magnetizing. So, like, see, we're actually going to demonstrate what we were just talking about. We need the same polarity for this heavy flamer ammunition pack. And so once this is done, what we'll end up doing is we will end up essentially putting a new magnet on here and doing the same gluing process so that they both fit. Now, that is definitely together. Oh, it just came off. Hold on, let's see what's going on. Alright, so it wasn't quite glued, but I can see that the glue was in fact on the deal here. Another way that you can do this, and I think this is what I'm gonna do now, is I don't have any paint here. Another way that you could do this is similar to when you I mean, you could obviously measure it and whatnot if you really wanted to. But another way that you could do this is you could take paint and paint right on top of this thing, and let's see here, it does not want to let go. I mean, that's a good thing, but could also be a bad thing. Uh-oh. We may have run into a slight problem here, ladies and germs. Now, I was worried that the other magnet came out, but I don't think it has, because if it had, then all of this would have popped out on me already. It's not a, you know, it's not a quick process for sure. There we go. Yeah, so that magnet's in there really good. You can also test the polarity. So I know that, right? You see how that just, you know, it's like I've got the force. Watch. Use the force, Luke. Anyway, I'm kidding. If you heard my sound effect, that was pretty bad. But anyway, I know that now the part that's magnetized to here, at least, you know, for this magnet, is, you know, the side that needs to go down. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put a little bit of glue down. What I'm mostly concerned about with the glue is that I don't go up and over the edge of this thing, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue down, and actually, you know what, I'm going to go back to my original plan, and I'm going to drill that little bit of a divot, and all I've got to do here is essentially line this up. Let me just make sure. Just want to make sure, double check, you know, measure twice, cut once kind of thing. Okay, so I'm just going to line those up in the way that it would be, and then I'll know that I need a divot about right here. And it doesn't have to be a huge hole, you know, that's not the goal here. It's just enough to give it something to purchase on. Now this drill bit that I have is not as big as those, okay? So I'm having to go a little bit off to the side as well, and that should work pretty decent. So I'm gonna put some glue in there, just like that. And again, we know this is the side that, you know, is gonna glue, so that's easy. I just sit this down in there. Whoops. Let me make sure one more time. Yep. I just sit this down in the hole, keep my finger there, roll my finger off, and hopefully it lets go, and it did. And so then I'm going to take the plastic and kind of force it down in there, and hopefully we still have the right side. How can I check that? It's not level. You do want to make sure you get those level though, otherwise your model is going to be, you know, kicked off to the side or something like that. So I shouldn't need a lot of space. I can feel it, so it looks like we're good to go. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not good to go, because if it was pushing, then that means I'm upside down. Yeah, I'm upside down. So gotta put that back in there. And now we should be good. Yeah, there's no pushing, so I'm good. So now I'm just gonna put a layer of glue over top of this just to kind of seal it up. But I'm gonna smooth around the outside so I don't get a big huge build up there as well. And we're gonna let that bad boy dry. And I'm gonna go back over here, and I see I've got some buildup of glue right here. And the only reason I want to clean that out is because it may make my magnet sit wrong, if you will. Or I'm sorry, my pack sit wrong. So I love these little sanding twigs. Like I said, I got them on Amazon, real simple. I mean, they're great. You got different, you know, different grits or different different grits, and yeah, they're color coded basically. I don't, when I look at this, I don't see anything that indicates, you know, what grit is what per the color. But once you figure out, you know, I mean, they're all different colors, you can figure out, you know, what grit you need. It's not that hard to do. So they've got some really fine grit ones too. But yeah, I just want to make sure I've got, you know, as clear of a you know, a deal as I can. All right, so again, we're still waiting on this because that still looks pretty wet on the flamethrower one. So we're gonna leave that alone. And I do want to make sure that you guys, you know, actually see this work, you know, or in working action. So while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna go ahead and find the arms and stuff that I need for these guys, or this particular guy. It's gonna be one in particular because it's got a little tab on here that it has to fit in. So I'm looking for the one with the hole in it. Seeing it off the top of my head. Of course, I could probably go to the instructions and just find the number. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Let's see here. Here we go. We're looking for 121 and 120. Okay, so 121 and 120. Doesn't appear to be on this sprue. There's no arms on this sprue. Let's see here. It's definitely not on that sprue, so it's got to be on here somewhere. We just didn't see it. 121 and 120. I see 119, but that's a gun or a weapon. Interesting. Let's see here. Here we go. Might help if I pick the box up. Alright. Alright, there's 120 and 121. So that means it was on here, actually. Because that's what I thought. It would be on the one that I got the weapons from. But I'm sure you guys have all seen that. So, what are we going to do here? So, this also tells us that we are going to have to actually potentially do some magnetization as well for the weapon itself. Okay? Because of how they connect on the arms. Again, how far do you want to go with this? That's completely up to you. For me, again, I want my weapon options. I may never use the heavy flamer. Who knows? But it's what I paid for. And yeah, I could probably use it something else, you know, or, you know, kit bash it to some kind of orc thing or whatever. But I mean, honestly, you know, I want those options. And, you know, I listen to people, you know, or have listened to people say, oh, well, I end up losing them, you know, I put them in somewhere and I can't find them. Well, I mean, there's multiple ways to keep track of them. You throw them inside your Land Raider, you know, put them in a bag and throw them in the Land Raider. They're not going to go anywhere. I can honestly say of all the stuff I've magnetized, I've never lost anything. I also have a plan for some of my vehicles and stuff like that to actually put a magnet on there and then just magnetize the weapon to the vehicle, like on the back or something. You probably wouldn't even, you know, notice it was gone. But you know, that's basically what we're looking at here. So since we've got this little gap here and that's supposed to fit in there, we're gonna have to do some, you know, some finagling this. But I'm really, you know, I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's not that it's hard to do at all. I'll probably work on this, you know, after the video or something like that, because I've got some other things to do. But the goal here is to show you that you can in fact do this. Now it looks like it's drying pretty good. Oh, one other thing, don't use quick set on this, okay, because it will make your super glue or your crazy glue brittle, and then you're going to run into a real problem. So anyway, the this is gluing down, but I know that it's not quite glued because I can see through. I mean, you're not going to see it on camera, but I can see through the glue that it's not quite done. So we're going to let that sit a little bit more. This should be done by now. All we need to do is use one magnet, and we can already start to get this one lined up and working as well. And yes, we are going to, well, actually this one already has kind of a recess, so we probably don't need to do it. Drill a hole in it. Let me put this down here and make sure we've only got one magnet. We do. And we're going to go ahead and line up this backpack with this flamethrower ammunition piece so that we can see how it fits on there. Alright, I see it. So now we have the general idea of where it's going to match up. This one apparently is going to present a slight issue, because as you can see, here's where our magnet is and here's the area that it needs to magnetize. So if we put the magnet here, it's going to be a little too high. So what we've got to do is we've got to trim some of that off. Not a big deal. Just get in there and flatten it out just a little bit, even with the cardboard or cardstock or whatever it is that you used. And now I know for the next one that, I mean, I'm probably still going to put this cardboard in there because it's going to keep the magnet from slipping, you know, when I'm messing around with it and going into the hole. But that I don't need to do that. Or I mean that where the actual magnet's going to be. And of course, I don't have to sit here and line it up each time either, because I'm just gonna line it up to the part I've already got done, right? All right, so first things first, let's find the polarity. Put it on the tip. Okay, so same thing, we're good to go. So we just need to make sure that we put this down. And since we are, in fact, we are gonna have to, let's see here. I'm gonna measure that one more time because something's throwing me off here. So that's there. It's going to be directly in line with that. I'm basically lining up everything on the vents, the pack vents. Okay, so looks like we're going to have to go right here on the edge. So we are going to have to put a little bit of a indentation in there to help secure our magnet. Nothing crazy, just a little bit. Okay, put some glue on there. Actually, I need to poke that out a little bit. All right. Some glue on there. Check our polarity again. Seems to be good to go. Push that magnet down in there. Leave our thumb in place, and bam, like we knew what we were doing. Not a big deal. It actually looks really level, surprisingly. And then we're going to take that extra, little bit of glue, and we're going to just drop a little bit over the top of it to make sure we get down in the cracks between the magnet and the plastic. Remember, it doesn't matter if the glue goes over top of the magnet. You can scrape that off if you want to, but it's not enough that it keeps the magnets from, coming together. And we'll let that one dry. So I think we're probably good to go here for a test fit. And the way that I test that is by running my finger over and seeing if the magnet moves. And it did not. So look at that. So we've got a gap here. And I'm looking to see inside what the problem is. The problem is apparently we are not as level as we thought we were. But that's okay. So I'll just press that down because I know that that glue is still workable. And there we go. Just like that, we are on. And for gameplay wise, as you can see, as long as you're not like directly picking this thing up, you're good to go. Okay, I mean, it's not going to pop off every time. And I mean, who knows, maybe maybe you don't even bother with this part and you just assume that this is also feeding your heavy flamer as well. I could see that being relatively plausible, except for the fact that this little area right here is supposed to be the the bullets. But there you go, you are magnetized, and now all you have to do is you can line up everything and basically do a batch build of magnetization as you go, just following those steps. And there you go, guys. And again, for these, all you're gonna do, literally is the same thing you did here. We're just gonna put, cut this little piece off right here, drill a hole in the hand. Well, there's actually already a hole in the hand, and then put a magnet, on each one. And you only need one magnet here, one here, and one here, and you'll be good to go. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.